What's up guys, Jason with Bold Coast Exotics, and today we're going to discuss racks versus tanks. Alright guys, so today I have with me one of the new snakes I just purchased. This is the female pastel het hypo het desert ghost. We're just learning to get to know each other and building trust, so I figured I'd have her tag along on this video. So this topic has been discussed hundreds of times throughout YouTube. Now I wasn't really going to discuss this topic, but I often get comments on my videos in regards to me keeping my snakes in the rack system. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to make another video, get some content out there, something I can reference to when I'm discussing this topic with other people. Now, I don't believe one way or the other is wrong or one is correct. All I have is my own experience. What is great about being mature adults is that we can have our own opinions and still get along, right? So I just want to discuss my opinion and at least the reason why I use the rack system. So when I first won Snow, my male albino pied 2 years ago, I had no intention on breeding at the beginning, so I actually built my very own enclosure for him, and actually I'll go show you guys that now. Okay, so this is an enclosure that I built. It is 3 feet by 2 feet, and it is sitting in my son's room. There's nothing inside of here right now. Everything in here is clean. As you can see, he's actually using it just to play with his little figurines. Okay, but in here is where I used to keep Snow, my male albino pied. Now, obviously, there's a lot more in here than just this. Okay, we had the water bowls in here, further in the back. I had vines coming down in each corner. We had a second hide over here, and we have light up top here, and our thermostat, as well as a hydrometer there as well. We have venting, even underneath this. I cut a hole in the bottom. And I put plexiglass in so that I could get an under the tank heater underneath and stick it to the bottom. Humidity was up, heat was up, and as far as setups go, I consider this to be a pretty good setup. Now, this wasn't going to be something he was going to stay in his entire life. But again, I built this thinking that I wasn't going to breed, he was just going to be a pet. All right, so again, I built that thing for a pet. Again, I didn't have the intention to breed. But while I had him, he was my first pied snake. Now, Snow had an issue with eating. He would go off of food for weeks. Sometimes, I think he went off food for almost 2 months. Now, I know that that's common with ball pythons, but I just wasn't used to that. So I did a lot of research, and I watched a video with Chris Hardwick, and he claimed that the pied gene specifically often went off food more than any other gene. I don't know if that's true or not. Now, I do enjoy Chris's videos, and I take a lot of his information as very valuable. So when I decided to breed ball pythons, I built the rack system. You guys saw the whole progress with that. Okay, so I saw the whole progress, but when I put him in this tank, I weighed him originally. So when I first put Snow into this rack system, he was 1.5 years. When I weighed him back then, he was about 504 grams. Okay, within the first month of me keeping him in this rack system, he had gained 100 grams. He did not skip a meal. And I truly believe that that comes down to the fact that he was more secure in this rack system than he was in that enclosure. Now, as I explained, the enclosure was set up well. I'm going to use this snake. So I don't think there was anything wrong. You know, I had vines set up, fake vines. I had the humidity right, the heat correct. He was the only snake that I had, so I managed him and I watched him every single day. But what I think it come down to is that the enclosure just made him feel a little insecure. Now, that's just my experience. It could be different for you. Now, within the last year or so, Dave Kaufman put out a new movie of him actually seeking out these guys out in the wild in Africa and looking at their natural habitat. If you guys haven't seen that movie, I suggest you definitely go check it out because it's really, really cool for him to do that. And a lot of time and effort as well. But what he did is he took the temperature readings and the humidity readings within their natural habitat. And also he looked for these guys. He figured out where they were and he sought them to see what they did in the wild. Now, what he found out is that these guys lived in burrows under the ground. And where he would find them was in rodent burrows, where the snakes would find the burrows, go in, eat the rodents, and live within these burrows, or they would make their own burrows in the termite mounds. And then when he asked the locals specifically if they ever see these guys in the trees, I believe there was 1 or 2 occasions where they said yes, but it was only during the flood season. So the snake went out of their comfort zone to climb a tree so they wouldn't drown. But I bring that up to make my point, is that specifically with ball pythons, is that they feel more comfortable in tight enclosed areas such as in the ground. So in the wild, where they were free, where they would choose to spend most of their time, wasn't climbing, wasn't roaming around, but it was under the ground where they felt most secure. Now my point is, with Snow gaining weight so fast and not refusing any meal, he obviously was more secure within the rack system. Now Snow, he's over 700 grams right now. So he's actually ready for breeding, just that my females aren't ready at this point. So what I strongly believe with Dave Cookman's findings, as well as my own little time of experience that I have, is that they actually thrive in these little tight areas because the rack system actually mimics their natural habitat. Now, I wouldn't say that I would keep boas or any arboreal species within the rack system. Now, if I was to expand, which I would like to eventually, into other species, let's say I get tree boas or tree pythons, I would actually build myself a wall system with individual enclosures so that these species could actually climb around. So I wouldn't keep all species in a rack system. I know that some people keep boas in a rack system, but again, the rack itself, the drawer itself, is the size of an enclosure that is suitable for a boa. Maybe I'd keep some dumerals or like the ground boas in a rack system like that, or even just a red-tailed boa. But other species, I don't think I would. I think I would rather build an enclosure for them to sit in. But as far as ball pythons, in my opinion, and what I've experienced, especially with Snow, again, when I first put him in here 1.5 years, I was worried that he was actually undersized for his age. And when I put him in this rack system, again, he just ate every single meal that I gave him. So in my opinion, for ball python specifically, the rack system isn't great. Now again, that's just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinions. And again, also, as adults, we're allowed to do that. And it shouldn't divide us to have our own opinions on certain things. As long as these animals, aren't being mistreated and are being taken care of well. But I do monthly weigh-ins of my snakes, so you can literally see them growing and what state they are in within their health. So I feel like I'm pretty open with my animals, and you guys can see firsthand that they are healthy. So again, I just wanted to make this video just to voice my opinion and the reasons why I use the rack system. Not only is it convenient, but that's not the only reason. Obviously, I care about my animals. I love them. I want them to do well. I want them to thrive. I don't want to be cruel. But I truly believe, again, specifically ball pythons thrive in these enclosures. But I wanted to make these videos just so I had something to reference to, for me personally, why I use the rack system. All right, so just a quick video this week. How about this girl? She did great, and I think we're gaining some trust here. I think she trusts me a little bit better. She's staying calm and collected. She wasn't acting wild, but I'm gonna go ahead and put her in the enclosure. Isn't she beautiful? I'm gonna go ahead and put her in her enclosure so she can relax for the rest of the day. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I'll see you next time. And just to prove my point, that when I just put her back in her rack, she couldn't get away from me fast enough. I opened up that drawer just a little bit, and she got off my arm and went in there pretty fast to get on the back side of that rack where she feels more secure. So, validation. Have a good one.